Many of us are working from home right now. My day job is allowing me to work from home right now. Probably many of your day jobs are allowing you to work from home right now. And this creates kind of an interesting dynamic, right? On the one hand, we don't have commutes. In theory, we have the flexibility to kind of spend time at home that we want to spend time with our partners, to do other things if there's a lull in business. But at the same time, you have to think about it in this way where, although we're gaining the benefits of getting to spend more of our time at home and to center more of our lives around the home space, at the same time, we're also starting to pay for our workspaces. Usually, when you're working in an office or you're working in any other workplace, your employer is paying for your workspace. But now, with people working from home, you are actually paying for your workspace. You're paying for your rent, you're paying for your mortgage, or whatever other agreement that you have where you are paying for, where you are using space that you either are borrowing or renting or leasing or mortgaging or owning and using that as your workspace. You are saving your employer money by this arrangement. So many employers actually have begun to abandon the idea of offices. My company specifically closed one of its offices in response to the pandemic. Many other companies have begun to transition to full remote, full-time, to allow them to save money on rent. So the question then becomes, where does this money go? The company is making all these extra savings by not having to pay for this space, by not having to pay for all the other things that come with an office. So if you think about an office environment, there are probably water coolers, there might be plants to keep people happy. Those plants probably get watered, those snacks, there might be snack machines that have to get refilled. There might be a tea and coffee station that has to get refilled, and other amenities that you pay for. You may have had an in-office gym. You may have had an in-office video game room or whatever. You get the idea. Offices typically had spaces in them for employees to do things other than work. Now all of that is in your home. The company is saving lots and lots of money because they don't have to pay for that space, they don't have to pay for those vendors, they don't have to pay for door alarm systems and all the things that come with having an office. Maybe they let go some administrative assistants because their only purpose was to answer a door, right? You get the picture. So where is all that money going? The truth is, like any other savings in the corporate capitalist system, that money is going back into the company, which is to say that it's being funneled to the top of the company. Oftentimes, unless your company is completely employee-owned, which is pretty rare, excess savings go into the bonuses or salaries of the executive class, the executives of the company, who are typically capitalists. Either they own the company or they own some part of the company. You get the general idea. So what I think is important for us to think about is that money should not be going to them. Not just because they didn't earn it or they don't necessarily deserve it, because they're simply looking for cost savings and pocketing the difference, but we are now paying for the spaces in which we work, where that used to never be the case. Think about all the other expenses that you are incurring now because you're working from home. You may have higher electric bills. You may have higher heat and cooling bills. You may have higher water bills. Hell, you may even have higher rent. It's not unfathomable. And people did move around a little bit during the pandemic, right? You may have moved to a place to allow you to have an extra space in your home that you can use as an office. The cost of housing the employed, and not housing as in where you live, but actually housing the place of employment, is being shifted away from the employer and onto the employee. Like all things in the capitalist system, where it's possible, the burden will be placed on the consumer and the profit, the difference, will be given to the capitalists. So what needs to happen? Essentially, I'm not sure how you would do it as a formula for each individual employee, but this cost savings that the company is getting needs to go forward and belong to the employees. The employees need to be the ones who benefit from this cost saving, whether it's an increase in salary, or it's a larger cost of living adjustment, or it's an increased bonus, or it's a stipend for snacks and things that you buy at your home, or a stipend for your electric bill, or if they just pay a portion of your rent. And by the way, this is not an entirely new concept. If you've ever had a mobile phone for work, or a pager or a beeper, I'm dating myself a little bit with these references, but in fairness, I never had those, my parents did. If you ever had one of those devices that you didn't buy and own for your own personal use, oftentimes your work paid for it. If they wanted you to use a personal phone for work or to add an additional number to your personal phone for work, oftentimes the company would pay for that portion of the service that they are expecting you to use for their benefit, whether that is adding an additional number to your line, getting an additional cell phone that you pay for and are reimbursed for, whether the company gives you a phone that they pay for. You get the general idea. Essentially, companies are actually already used to the idea of paying you for something that may be used for personal use, but that also is used for work use. What needs to happen is we need to take this dynamic that is already understood and important and to transfer it to the idea of working from home. If you're working from home, your company should be compensating you for the time that you spend using your home as a workspace. Now, oftentimes we spend about a third of our day, about 8 hours of every 24, for that. So if you could easily say that for 28 days a month, approximately 4 working weeks, sorry, not 28 days, sorry, 20 days a month, approximately 4 working weeks, they should cover a third of your rent. You can do the math on that. 20 days is about 2/3 of a month. You just do the additional math and you figure out about how much that they should be paying you extra in order for your workspace to also, so your home space to also be used as a workspace. This would bring the fairness back into the workplace and allow for the cost savings that the company is experiencing to go into the pockets of the employees who are also dedicating more of their time and more of their energy to the workspace now that they don't have to spend as much time commuting and doing other things. I think this would be an excellent solution. It's going to be difficult, and obviously, like all difficult fights, organized labor will be necessary. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned on past shows, there is not a ton of organized labor in this country. However, where there is organized labor, I propose that one of the things that they start to fight for is companies taking that cost-saving benefit and passing it on to the employees. It's going to be a tough fight, but I think it's an important one, and especially because we should set the expectation as workers that if the company is going to save money on things that they used to provide for us, or shift the cost to us from them, we should be compensated for that because we're using additional time and additional resources to do the work to produce the capital that they then enjoy and that they profit off of.